How's it going, everyone? Grim here again with another unboxing. Kind of an unboxing because it's not really a box, but I would like to show you guys, and if you didn't know this particular unit existed, introduce you to one of my more favorite models or units in the Warhammer 40k world. And this is the Forge World Astra Militarum Cyclops Demolition vehicle. So it's not really an unboxing, and you can see all of the pieces of this particular model right here still in the packaging. That's it. It's just two tank tread parts and then the body. So let's go ahead and cut this open. This is one of those clamshell. It's not even a clamshell. It's one of those ones that are completely sealed on all ends. No instructions for this, but I think no instructions are needed. So this particular model is very tiny, right? I know what you're saying to yourself. This kind of looks small. There is no way that this is a tank when this is a standard infantry unit, right? Well, this is a tank, and it's actually listed as a heavy, believe it or not, but it's a drone, right? It's a remote controlled vehicle, unmanned vehicle. And so you have the two tread portions, and then you have the little body there, the main body. Obviously, you're going to have to cut the resin fills off, and because this is a Forge World, it's resin, right? Doesn't need to really be detailed because, like I said, it's just a small model, right? But it does have some detail on it that a savvy painter can definitely use to their advantage. Now, why is this such a big deal? Why is this cool? Why do I think this is one of the more interesting units in Warhammer 40k? So, well, first of all, let's talk about the price, right? I think it's $27 US from the Forge World website at the time of this recording. It's 50 points in the game itself, and it's listed under one of your heavies. So you can only have, usually you can only have like 2 or 3 heavy units in your particular detachment, and this would be one of them, this one by itself. And a small little cheap model. But what's cool about this model is that it has a 10-inch movement, and it has this ability called Demolition Vehicle. And that basically means this vehicle is a suicide bomber, so to speak. The whole purpose of this vehicle is to do a kamikaze type thing. So you as the player, right, start the battle off by moving this bad boy 10 inches, and you want to get into the enemy's army. Like wherever their warlord is, or wherever most of their units are clustered together, you want to move this in there as soon as possible, because as soon as you get within 6 inches, you can use this demolition vehicle ability. And it says that all of the units within 6 inches of this can be targeted and shot with its one ranged weapon. And that ranged weapon is a heavy D6 or 2D6, sorry, heavy 2D6 with blast, strength 9, AP -2, and the damage is D3. And the cool thing about that is that that's for every unit within 6 inches of this. And it's not even every unit that you can see within 6 inches. It's just every unit within 6 inches. And if this bad boy is in engagement range of one of your enemy's units, it still can shoot and use this ability. So if the enemy surrounds this little vehicle, that's the best thing that could happen to you, because that's exactly what you want the enemy to do. Because then it can pop off its demolition vehicle ability and shoot all units within 6 inches. Heavy 2d6 blasts. Damage D3 for each of those that hit and wound. And that's really cool. In addition to that, like most vehicles, it has an explodes ability where if you get it there, but then the enemy is able to destroy this before you can shoot them on your next turn, then it explodes on a 5+, dealing D3 mortal wound damage to all units within 6 inches. So it's kind of a win-win, you know, if you're able to shoot with this and you're able to use that demolition vehicle ability, the heavy 2d6 blast, you cause damage to all units. If your enemy is able to destroy this first, however, then this explodes. And on a 5+, which is way better than many vehicles explodes ability, which are 6+, on a 5+, it'll explode, causing D3 mortal wound damage to all vehicles within 6 inches, or all units within 6 inches. The downside, obviously, is that because this is a kamikaze suicide vehicle, you only use that demolition vehicle ability once. So once you shoot its main weapon, its only weapon, then it itself is removed from play, like as if it, as if it blew up. But for 50 points, that's a really cool thing. If you got an extra 50 points, and if you're playing Astra Militarum, you probably do have an extra 50 points because all the other units are relatively cheap. And some guard players have told me that they have problems. Like one of my best friends, he's a guard player, tried and true, and he has a problem filling out a 2,000 point army. And he'll have a lot of infantry or a lot of fluff and buffer that just to fill out the points. And it's usually units that he may not necessarily need strategically, but he just needs units to fill out that 2,000 point requirement. Well, for 50 points, you can have this bad boy, and it'll just, at the beginning of the game, it'll go in there, start blowing stuff up. It gets removed. You don't care because it's 50 points well spent because you probably caused a whole bunch of damage to your enemy's army. And, it rattles them, right? This is strategically a great strategy or great thing because just going in there saying, hey, yeah, my unit blows up and all these units here get all of this damage. And maybe some of those units, because of the blast ability, are completely wiped out. And that kind of just rattles your opponent if that happens at the beginning of the game. Now, one final thing I want to talk about this. When you look at transports, this says that it counts as 3 spaces in a transport. I think it's 3. I believe it said 3. So in other words, you can put this in a transport. It can be embarked. So if you can kind of imagine a chimera, right? And the back of the chimera lowers down, and usually you have infantry that go in and sit down. Instead, you have this small little remote vehicle reverse into the chimera along with some other troops. That chimera will deliver it to where it needs to go. Your next turn, it'll push out. Of course, that first turn that the chimera moves, it is relatively safe itself, right? The chimera is protecting it. If the chimera blows up, then it has a good chance of still, getting out of the chimera safe and sound. But your second turn, when it disembarks, then you can go ahead and move it 10 more inches. And hopefully the movement of the chimera and then the 10-inch movement of the demolition vehicle itself will get it as close to the main body of your enemy as possible, where it can then do its thing and basically just blow up one time. So I like the fact that this can be embarked in a transport vehicle. That's cool. Otherwise, once again, this is the Astra Militarum Cyclops Demolition Vehicle from Forge World. And I highly recommend it if you are a guard player to at least consider this to fill out your army if you have an extra 50 points that you can't really spend on anything else. Or even if you can spend it on something else, spend it on this because this is really fun and cool in my opinion. Otherwise, thank you very much for joining me. If you liked this video, please give it a thumbs up, like and subscribe to my channel. If I made a mistake in anything I said, any of the stats, leave a comment. If you're also a lover of this little vehicle, leave a comment. Tell everybody how great it is. Otherwise, thank you very much for spending this time with me. Grim out.